Hello, everyone. I am Danny Sabb, the host of the Zor-El podcast and the administrator of the Supergirl Homepage as well, too. This is the very first video for the Supergirl Homepage, and I'm hoping to become a regular thing going down the road. Hopefully, the podcast will be a video as well, too. So, if it's not the best quality, what have you, do be patient. Like I said, it's kind of a trial and error thing. It's like the very first time I've ever tried a video for the Supergirl homepage. So I hope you enjoy it. Basically, what I have for you guys today is an interview with the creator of Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land fan film, Mr. Walter C. Jones himself. He was gracious enough to sit down with me for a few minutes. Well, a little bit longer than a few minutes, and just talk about the film. And I gotta say, guys, it's a great film. I had the pleasure of pre-screening it, or at least most of it so far. What's been done so far, but it's a great movie. Especially if you're a Supergirl fan, you'll definitely love it. But like I said, Mr. Jones was gracious enough to sit down with me for a while to talk about the film. So here it is. And like I said, hopefully down the road, there will be other videos to come out of the Supergirl homepage. So if you like this and if you want to follow along, guys, please subscribe. And yeah, so here it is.
So I'm here with Mr. Walter C. Jones, the creator of Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, Danny. Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much for selecting the Supergirl homepage for this exclusive interview. And personally, thank you for actually giving me the opportunity to actually watch it before anybody else. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff.
I wanted people to know that there is actually a film. So.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I can honestly say there is a film. It's about, as I think we said, there's about 95% complete or so, but there is a film for sure. And I must say, it's probably one of the best fan films I've ever seen. Great special effects. The story probably was the best thing, I think, of the whole entire movie for me. It was just such an emotional journey for Kara Zor-El, and that to me is what mattered the most. So,
thank you.
Definitely a great story, great film, and definitely people should see it. Now, before we start talking about it, I do believe you were in an accident just recently. How are you doing, by the way? How's everything going with that?
It's a slow road to recovery, but I am doing good physically. Still some internal things going on that they want to reevaluate. And then, of course, at the advice of my physician, because of my concussion, he didn't want me to do any focused media work just yet until he was certain I was clear of all the symptoms. So,
okay.
But on the up hand, I'm doing a lot better. Mobility, I should say. I'm doing a lot better. Mobility is better. I'm still under house arrest. So this is my chance to really get out and do something with this interview. So I'm happy for it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling much better. That's great to hear. So for those of us, out there who don't know what Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land is, what exactly is it?
Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land is an exercise in filmmaking. And I say that because, I'm far from a professional. I'm just a person who has a passion for comic book characters, comic book movies, most specifically DC Universe characters. Superman is my first love, and Supergirl is my second. So it just made sense to do a film that was, for me, a little easier to do. I did some work on another film that you might know called Superman Requiem that was produced in the UK, directed by Gene Fallacy and Capsule Pictures. I worked on the opening title sequence for that movie. So it had the 1978 title sequence flying in like Christopher Reeve, the words, the names, producing credits and stuff like that. The movie, although done with a budget of about $20,000, caught a lot of flack. A lot of people really down the film, and they really had a lot of negative things to say about it. And then on the other hand, there was someone who really liked it just for the art form of it. So I came out of that wondering if I could do a production at my skill set, at my skill level, to see if it could look as good. So what I did was I took a couple of special effects sequences, because those are usually the harder parts of movies to do, and I built a short story around it. So that's where the idea of Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land actually came from.
Okay. I understand. Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's a great movie, great concept for sure. Which kind of leads me to my next question. Where exactly did the plot and the premise of the idea of Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land come from?
It basically came from Smallville.
Okay.
And their take on Supergirl, where she was stuck in stasis for a number of years, and then finally was released and revived and came looking for Clark. I like that premise of the story because it kept the destroyed Krypton, gone, and those two being the sole survivors. So it was a good take on that. And then my idea stemmed from that, where she left Krypton ahead of him and got something, happens in space beyond her control, and it delays her
Mhm.
arrival. So by the time she gets to Earth, he's already here, gone, became Superman, and she's now basically playing catch up with this search because she really doesn't know what's going on.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, I mean, that's the kind of what I got out of that story was Kara kind of on Earth, not just looking for her cousin, but kind of experiencing Earth for the very first time, and just being all about the majesty she sees around her and everything else, which is
Right.
quite refreshing than what we get in the comic books today. And that kind of leads to my next question, and this is something that's a little more kind of personal for me, just because I know a lot of people who've commented in the Supergirl homepage and people I've talked to who are Supergirl fans don't really like exactly where the New 52 Supergirl has gone since it first started.
Okay.
It started off strong. It's gone and really tailed off a lot since the Hell on Earth crossover event happened. But the idea of basically Kara crashing on Earth and just being angry and frustrated about losing all the time that she's lost in space, all that sort of stuff. And that's basically what we get in the New 52 comic book. However, your movie takes a completely different approach. Your movie takes basically Kara accepting, what's happened to her and loving Earth for what it is and calling it her home. Why did you decide to go down that path rather than going one that's similar to the comic books where she was angry and frustrated all the time?
I can sum that up in 2 words, and that would be Helen Slater.
Good 2 words.
Her character in Supergirl was she had so much innocence, and she has so much care for her surroundings, and her whole premise was she was looking up to Clark. She was looking up to her cousin Superman, and the fact that he was on Earth, it automatically became her Earth. And so, I mean, I guess since it's a short film, I really couldn't really spend a lot of time of her being angry and frustrated. And so I tried to maybe put a little anxiety in that in the beginning of the film while she was traveling. And so you kind of can see where her thoughts and patterns is, her feeling is on her travel. But once she gets here, she basically is focused on the task of finding baby Kal-El.
Okay. Understood. Well, I mean, you definitely did a good job of picking Helen Slater to choose to drive the story from and drive your Supergirl from, and it's definitely a good choice.
Thank you.
The plot itself, where is it? Does it come back to a specific story or a specific era of the Supergirl comic books, or is it simply just based on Helen Slater and her Supergirl from the movies?
No, it's basically just the basic stripped down Supergirl.
Okay.
And it's basically a Supergirl without any connection to any of the, canons or any of the films. There's just a raw character and a journey. Just like any artistic form, we take a little bit of creative license with the character or with the story just to convey something that we would like to see eventually on film ourselves one day.
Right.
So basically it's like, just like when you're a kid, make believe, you run around and you do your own little story in your head, and you act it out, and that's exactly what this is. It's just a basic story that's being acted out, just from a small blip on the screen of the larger, community that is Supergirl. That is just I guess it could be an Elseworld story,
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's just a different kind of adaptation. I mean, there's been so many different adaptations of Supergirl throughout the years, right? So,
yeah,
kind of what's one more? I guess you can think about
exactly,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the film, basically you see Kara. She's in the Kent farm as well as Metropolis. What was the significance, if any, in having Kara visit both these iconic locations?
Basically, just to give the film a little more depth, a little more scope. I didn't want to lock it into just a one-frame story.
Okay.
And having her do some from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end of the spectrum, it just kind of made well, it just kind of made sense for her to start where Clark started and then end where Superman ended. And so it kind of just traversed those two landscapes within the film. Once again, because of the time restraint, of a short film, I wanted not to just leave her in one point for the whole film, but I wanted to get her to someplace else just to give it just a little bit more feel, a little bit more scope, and just a little more of a journey that people could take with her.
Okay, understood. Now, in this story, we also see Kara running into a very a big major character in DC universe. What was the reason having this character within this storyline?
To break the monotony of the storyline.
Okay.
The whole, she's the main focus of the film, and just to add just a little extra element, just to break it up just a little bit, to show that there is more to this universe than what you're seeing, right there on screen, right then and there. And it's also kind of just to give a little bit extra to the film itself, production-wise, to say, oh yeah, there was a little bit of effort made in making this thing. You just wasn't following her around with a camera, seeing her do stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense, I suppose. Makes a lot of sense. Now, I just want to change gears a little bit and talk about Supergirl, Brianna, who did a fantastic job playing Supergirl, of course, in the movie. When you were looking to cast your Supergirl character, what characteristics were you looking for this character, for your Supergirl?
Well, at first it started out as just an idea, just to do some photos of her in costume. So did some makeshift photos when she was about 16.
Okay.
And at that point, I noticed that she took direction very well, just to be in front of a regular camera, with no questions asked. Her thought process was really focused on that one particular task that I gave her.
Okay.
And then her as a person, she's a very loving, accepting person, very down to earth, very personable. And I was like, Supergirl would be like that, just if she wanted to model herself after Clark, that's how she would be. And so she had a very humble and meek character. And besides her looking like Supergirl in my eyes, I thought she was a good fit.
Okay.
And she was more convenient too, since I worked with her before. Why do a big search for someone else when I had a little history with her already?
Sure, that makes sense. Absolutely. Well, you did mention her look, and she certainly does look the part. Young, blonde hair, blue eyes, definitely looks a part of Supergirl. But of course, Supergirl is the more to her than just a look.
Yep.
What did Brianna herself bring to this role of Supergirl, if she brought anything at all besides her look?
Well, Brianna has some experience acting in plays. She's also an athlete. So she was used to being in front of people. So I didn't have a problem with her expressing emotion or working in front of a medium such as video. But she took direction very well, and I tried to explain to her who Kara was, what the situation she was in, and what she wanted to accomplish, within the film. And so Brianna, she really thought about it. She took the script. Looked at all the scenes, that were in the script, and she was really she could deliver when I asked her to.
Okay. Did you ask her to sort of model herself after another Supergirl that's played before, such as Helen Slater, Laura Vandervoort, anybody that's played Supergirl before? Did you ask her, I want you to play Supergirl like this person, or did you just kind of give her, kind of free reign and let her do her thing and see where it went?
Free reign, really, because Brianna, she's not into comic books, she's not into the whole superhero genre. So to me, that was good because I could imprint on her what I wanted the character to do without her going to another place from a past experience or to model another character. Okay. So everything you see on screen is just raw from my direction. So if there's any digs on her acting, then it would be my fault.
Come back to your fault. Gotcha. Okay. So we have a problem with her acting. We should talk to you, Jen, not to her.
That's right.
Understood. The next question I have for you, and this is kind of was very obvious when I was watching the movie, and you can actually see in the poster behind you was her costume. You also didn't take a traditional costume like we've seen before in any of the Supergirl eras from the past. Why did you choose to go with a completely new costume rather than going one that was already done before?
Okay. Well, from the get-go, she was underage, so I didn't
Okay.
want to put her in any type of mini skirt and short midriff type uniform and have her plastered on the web, at that age. I kind of wanted to
Right,
respect
of course.
that. And then I just took a little creative license because originally we were going to be shooting in the fall, and it really gets chilly in winter. So, I said, well, why not just do a full body leotard uniform in
Hmm.
case we run into inclement weather. We didn't have the luxury of elaborate Hollywood sets or dressing trailer for. So I just kind of thought of, well, why not just do a full body suit, because there were a couple of artist renderings of Supergirl. One where she had like a black full body suit on with red highlights. And then there was another one of Superwoman that was set in the future, and she had on a
Okay.
full body suit as well. So I said, well, I can just maybe toss a little bit in there, and see what happens, And everybody asks about that. They don't really hate it, but they just wonder why. And so that's the reason.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, when I was watching, I was thinking, okay, it looks kind of odd. I mean, it looks good. It just looks different than anything I've kind of seen before. But I guess you're right. This kind of makes sense with her being underage and the weather and stuff like that. That definitely does make sense, of course. But I mean, she still pulled it off really well. She looks the part for sure, and that's no doubt about that.
Cool. Thank you.
Um, the next question I have the special effects, and as I mentioned before, this movie has probably some of the best special effects I've seen myself in a fan film.
Hmm.
How difficult was it to incorporate these special effects into this movie, especially because we all know that the family of Superman and Kara Zor-El and those super beings from Krypton have
Hmm.
elaborate superpowers. How did you basically take all their elaborate powers and incorporate them into your movie?
Well, since I had a very small budget, so I really couldn't go haywire. Most of the budget went towards costume, peripherals, a little bit of software, and props. And then the fact that my skill set, I didn't want to take it beyond what I could do. So I specifically chose the effects that I think I could pull off convincingly myself without trying to hire someone, professional to really try to do something,
Right.
which was another um, motivation for the type of story that I did, because it didn't have to have a whole lot of special effects in it. And the ones that are in there, I did myself. The more close-up effects that you see, stuff that dealt with her flying in a full screen format was animation, and that was done by Timothy Dickens.
Okay.
And as you know, he was in a terrible accident, and at the end of winter, so it took him out of the production for quite a few months. So now that he's back in the saddle, working on my final pieces, it took me out of the box. So we had a couple of hurdles to get over, but it will get done. But going back to the effects, when I worked on Superman Requiem, I, I could see some of the fans frustrating with one of the scenes, and
Okay.
I just felt that they could have done it better. And seeing how I knew a little bit about special effects and a little bit about using some software, I thought they would have did that, but they didn't take advantage of it. So I kept thinking to myself, what could I do to make it better? And I patterned it off of uh, Smallville. So
Okay.
so it kind of came. I kind of vaguely knew how to do it. So of course, I did a lot of research, and then to see what I could pull off within my own skill set, and it seemed to work. The main thing I wanted the actual camera work to look convincing, and if you get that right, then the effects and everything is kind of gravy on top.
All right.
So I wanted to have that big theater feel, but kind of on a smaller scale.
Well, no, I mean you definitely pulled it off. Like I was saying, there's some great special effects, specifically one when her running and you
Hmm.
really get the idea of her running through super speed and stuff like that. Where just it was really really well done for sure.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, absolutely. So that brings my next question. Now, you mentioned you're a Superman fan first, then secondly Supergirl. What is your history with Supergirl, and why did you choose to do a fan film on her?
My history of Supergirl is like anyone else's. First of all, the Helen Slater character from the movie. You can't talk about the Donner universe without at least mentioning, Helen Slater and Supergirl production that they did for that. And that's what stuck with me the most. A lot of the comic book characters, like from Justice League Unlimited animated series, and a lot of the other animated movies that DC have done, started bringing Supergirl more to the forefront. And I was like, okay, it looks like DC may start investing in her character. Maybe I should just do a little something just to kind of maybe in my own little universe help nudge that, to get
Right.
fans involved and people involved in it. And then on a more selfish note, it was just more convenient to do Supergirl than Superman because if you do something with Superman, people are going to expect the wow factor. They're going to expect a ton of effects, him really showing
Right.
power and fighting and all that. And I just didn't have the production time or any type of story I could do right to justify doing that.
Okay.
So this film was more of, staying within my means, staying within my bounds, staying within my skill set, and
Mhm.
on the very back end of it, it was convenient because I have
Okay.
did stuff with Brianna.
Okay. Now that's an interesting thing you brought up. Now you did Superman Requiem, and now you've done Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find you had a lot less expectations on yourself to do this movie justice compared to Superman, considering, Superman is huge, he's globally known, Supergirl not as much. Did you find you had a lot less on your shoulders to be able to pull this off compared to your Superman Requiem, for example?
I think so because, like I said, Supergirl is not as popular as Superman.
Hmm.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's very unfortunate.
So I figured that with my creative license and what I was doing, I wouldn't take such a big hit as
Okay.
compared to the more exposed Superman. Like-minded individuals like us will see it and maybe appreciate the art form of it, appreciate the effort of it, and to say, "Hey,
There's-
here's something somebody tried out, and it looks pretty cool." So what's next? Who else got something?
mhm.
And so I think in that vein, um, the risk is not as much pressure, and the
Okay.
fact that I'm releasing it on my own, uh, funded it myself pretty much, did all the camera work, video work, effect work, graphic stuff like that, then I felt
Mhm.
like, okay, it's a personal project for me and I'm going to share it with everybody else.
Okay.
So that took some pressure off thinking of it that way. Now if someone had paid for it or I got thousands of dollars to do it, I would probably be in a whole different mindset at this point.
Right. No, that makes sense. Now that you're almost completed Supergirl Stranger in a Strange Land, are there works or any plans to have a sequel or a second movie, Supergirl movie that you might be doing?
It's hard to say right now. Brianna may be going off to college. Um, and then at another time, there was another production with New Frontier Productions to do a Batman Superman joint movie and have my character be a part of that movie. And
Okay.
so with that premise, we were going to take our Supergirl and let her evolve into the more traditional Supergirl that we see. The
Okay.
costume, maybe a little more edgier attitude because she's been on Earth for a little bit of time, so she picked up some habits,
Hmm.
from our teenagers.
Right.
And so we're going to have the character evolve in that sense. That production is kind of on hold because it went through a couple of script rewrites. And then with the announcement of the Superman Batman movie in 2015, uh, I think the urgency to do it has kind of fell off.
Okay.
Because I went and scouted out a location in Detroit. Um, I went and found a Tumblr Batmobile because we were going to use Batman, the Northern
Nice.
Batman, for the movie.
Okay.
I had an actor picked out for Batman, who had the full costume and everything that looked just like Chris Nolan's. So we was lining up actors and everything, and so it was going to be a nationwide effort to do it. But it just kind of fell flat because the director had some family issues. He was kind of young, kind of inexperienced, so I think he got overwhelmed and kind of backed off of it.
Okay.
And so unless he wants to resume production, I have kind of had to wait and see.
Okay.
Me personally, I would like to do another Supergirl movie. I just don't know what I would do, and then what type of story I would do next, and type of production I would have, because I mean I barely scraped through with this one with financing. So so I guess time will tell.
Well, if you decide to do another movie, you should really convince Brianna to come back and to do a sequel, for example. And if she does, tell her I will pitch in for her trailer this time, so this way she doesn't have to sit out there in the cold. Got it covered.
She would like that. She would definitely like that, and she would be all for it.
There you go. So I know we were talking before. There's no official release date yet for this movie, but when it is released, where can people find it? Is it on YouTube? Are you selling it through a website? Where can people get this movie? Where can they watch it?
I designed a film site for it, Zor-El.com. And within that site, there's a YouTube link where you can see the trailer and the clip. And of course, we have links to your website to see it. But YouTube will probably be the biggest medium for it. But the link's going through the website as well. And then there's a Facebook page, Supergirl Stranger in Strange Land, where I'll probably post a link there as well. And that's where most of the chatter is on that site. And then I saw a lot of comments from the trailer and the clip. So I guess those two mediums would be what we use for that.
Okay. Well, actually, that was my last question. I was going to ask where can people find more information on the film. But like you're saying, Zor-El.com. They can get to your Facebook page. Of course, it'll be on the Supergirl homepage as well, too. There's a link right on the widget there. So, there's, YouTube. So there's a lot of different ways they can get in touch with you, get in touch with updates on the movie and stuff like that. So that's perfect.
For sure. And hopefully, I hate to put an ETA on it. I'm still waiting on some sequences to come in. And then health-wise, but I really hoping within this month or within a month that it can be pushed out there. So I got my fingers crossed for that, and then we'll see what my doctors say.
Perfect. Well, like I said, I've seen about 95% of the movie so far, and it looks incredible so far. And you definitely did a great job. You and Brianna and the rest of the cast did a great job on the movie, and I can't wait to see the finished draft of it. And I'm sure everybody else can't wait either. And hope there will be a sequel. And like I said, I'll throw in a trailer for Brianna, no problem. That's all on me.
She would like that. She would really like that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, sir, for taking the time to talk with me today and to talk about this fantastic movie of yours. And thanks so much for making it.
Thank you so much, Danny, and I'll say hello to all your followers, and I really appreciate their interest and their support.
Excellent.
And I just hope it'll be something that they could enjoy and take it to heart.
Well, I really hope that you will inspire more filmmakers out there to make more Supergirl fan films, because I think there really should be more out there. There's so many for Superman, for Batman, and those kind of movies alike. But we really need more Supergirl, I think, films out there. And there's so many different stories you can tell about her origin stories, and about her as her character and her personality and stuff like that. So I hope that your movie will inspire other filmmakers to sort of go out there and make other fan films as well too for her.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, sir, and wish you all luck. Hope you get better with everything health wise, and we can't wait to see the movie for sure.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Bye bye.